Hi, this is my presentation, Social Class and Sports by Benjamin Ambos. Um, so a little introduction about me. I was a middle child with two brothers, so you can kind of assume that household was pretty competitive. We also lived in the country, so we had a lot of grass to play, many different sports, so got started early with that. And, by age 5, kindergarten age, started t-ball and then pee-wee football once I got a little older. Love football more, so I stuck with football in high school, and now I'm a fourth-year mechanical engineering student here at UC. Been in love with all sports, especially football. Watching it's awesome. Getting into golf a lot more, though. We'll talk about that later. So what is social class? Social and economic class, that is. Social class is a hierarchy within a society based on diverse set of items. This is wealth, power, profession, education. Those factors are very important. They correlate with a lot of things, such as family income, and will also even affect a child's physical activity. This presentation is going to dive into how that social class can not only affect, physical activity in general, how that affects a kid, and then also what type of physical activity that child is more likely to take part in, sport-wise. So here's some statistics about physical activity and how that correlates to, a family's wealth. So this is done by the National Health Institute, and they did a study, and 16% of kids put that a reason that they did not participate in sports was because they were too expensive. And I think that this is a crazy statistic because, as a kid, my least worry was money. I mean, I didn't even know what too expensive meant as a kid, so that 16% would say that something is too expensive, that's kind of high. And 11% of those kids gave this reason as a high-ranking reason. Basically, the study was out of 10. You kind of ranked 1 to 10 how this affected you, and so that high ranking is 8 through 10, so it's pretty high. So from grades 5 through 12, children from medium and high-income families were 3 times more likely to meet physical activity than the low-income children. The same study, and that's just a crazy number. 3 times more likely to compete in anything, or 3 times more likely to do anything, is just a crazy statistic. So, that'll have a lot of negative effects. And so that's where this comes in, why this disparity is important. If it was 3 times more likely and didn't really cause anything, it might be one thing. But, these statistics have a lot of negative implications for those who do not take part in physical activity. Not only is it on the health aspect where, children don't participate in fun ways, they're more likely to just not participate anyway because it's more fun to lose weight with sports than it is to just run on a treadmill. So they're more likely to be overweight than those competing in sports or just staying active in general. Also, there's a lot of key developmental things you're losing out on when you're not competing in sports, like teamwork and respect. Also, a lot of lower class people don't have a father figure in the household, so they're missing out on that coach father figure that could help them a lot through life. So now that upper class, lower class are explained a little bit, we're going to go into where that can even apply to what sport you actually choose to participate in. So it has been found that upper class children are more likely to play non-contact sports than their counterparts, and that's really important. These sports are like golf and tennis, where lower middle class kids are more likely to take part in contact sports such as boxing, football, baseball, the usual school sports. A lot of sports like golf are notoriously expensive, kids having to pay for every aspect of the game, not just the equipment. Golf is expensive already just with the equipment, and then you kind of have to factor in that every time you want to play or even practice, you have to pay an extra fee. So this is also another important thing because most risk is involved with the contact sports. You can only play it when you're young, and not only is it a physical risk, but also once you can't play the sport you love anymore, you can watch it, but it's not the same, and that can lead to depression and weight gain when you can no longer play the sport that kept you healthy and kept you happy. So these are some of the most expensive sports. This is a sample done in a sample size, but you can definitely see that there's an investment made with some of the more expensive sports. It's kind of crazy numbers, but there's definitely, you pay for what you want your kid to get into, and this kind of goes against the contact thing, but hockey is the only one that's not kind of a non-contact sport that's in the top 10 here. So you got golf, field hockey, skiing. Skiing's another one where, you know, you're paying a lot of money not only for the equipment, but every time you want to go skiing, you're going to have to pay for that. Tennis, lacrosse. Lacrosse is another big, you know, rich person sport. There's a lot of equipment fees there. And then golf, and then you can see as you get lower into the graph, you actually hit some of those contact sports that are offered by schools. So this is kind of my personal outlook. Like I grew up in a lower middle class household. You know, only competed in contact sports my whole life. When I got to college, you know, we played the game of flag football every once and again, but it's hard to get a full team. And not only that, we had a couple friends get hurt and not, you know, wake up the next morning with some soreness. So it is taxing on the body also. So I've gotten into golf a little bit, and it's definitely a learning curve. I have never played before I got into college, and you know, it's also a learning curve on my wallet. Golf can be as expensive as you want to make it, to a certain extent. You know, I bought secondhand clubs and everything, and you know, I'm good with money, but you still have to play. You have to pay every time you want to practice, or every time you want to, you know, go to a course and actually shoot around with friends. But it is a lot easier than, you know, getting 22 guys together to play a game of pickup football. And so yeah, it's kind of a crazy comparison when you think about you know, what you can play forever, such as golf and tennis, and what you can't, such as the non-contact sports, is kind of mind-blowing in a sense. Tennis, once you take the competitiveness out of it, can be a really fun and cheap way of staying active and, you know, having fun with friends. Is you really only have to pay for a racket and a ball, and find one other friend, because most tennis courts are free. So that kind of like goes down into the cheaper side once you take the competitive skills out of it. If you go back and look at the graph, a lot of the cost was associated with lessons. So yeah, that was my TED Talk. Thank you for listening.